Now, let's have a look at this tone-deaf joke that has landed the Prime Minister in hot water today. Look, he's done a social media post of a mocked-up album cover. I assume this is him joking about the fact that he's known as DJ Albo. Basil, he's been criticised for this post. People have said it makes light of families who are seriously struggling. What do you think?
They're certainly trying to take a little praise prematurely. And one thing we all know everybody hates, people patting themselves on the back in our community is never welcome. But we even hate it more when politicians pat themselves on the back. Get the job done. Let others sing your praises. Demonstrate a track record of proven success in this area, and the fanfare will take care of itself. I don't mind the attempts at humour or a little bit of light-heartedness, but I don't think this one worked. Not so much poor taste, it just missed the mark. It's not what's required at the moment, and it shows that they're misfiring in this area completely.
Also, a CD cover. I mean, no one plays CDs anymore.
I know.
I still have all my CDs, I just can't play them.
I'm exactly the same. I was going to say, I mean, it's really emblematic of what all of this means, the fact that he's used a CD cover. And I mean, So Fresh was sort of the sounds of my childhood. But
You're
the fact that...
still in your childhood.
Well, hang on, Sharri.
Hang on. Around when there were CDs.
Hang on, Sharri. That's a low blow. That is a low blow.
No,
I mean, you're younger than me. You're only 21, so come on. But it is so emblematic of what all of this actually means, because he's using a CD cover, which is a CD being just about as useful as all of the measures that he's talking about on the front of that CD cover.
Good analogy.
And even worse than that, actually, Caleb makes a fair point. The last time we were all listening to CDs was around about the time when interest rates were at 18 or 19%. So they're taking us to a place where we don't want to actually be reminded of.
No, good point. Good point. Well, Peter Dutton also criticised the PM today after another 4 fishing boats were intercepted off WA's coast on Tuesday. Have a look.
Well, it's the case because Anthony Albanese pulled money out of aerial surveillance and maritime surveillance. And if you take those resources away, the people smugglers and those who are involved in illegal fishing and other activities, including running of drugs, etc., they just run riot.
Basil, what do you think? Do you think this criticism is fair, that this is a result of Labor's, reduction, as Peter Dutton says, in maritime and aerial surveillance?
Well, you can only go on what we have before us to consider, and we know absolutely that there have been more boats appearing, there have been more boats getting into Australian waters, there's been more reports of exactly this sort of thing, illegal fishing boats and others making their way into Australian waters. And rightly or wrongly, there is clearly a perception issue that exists around the Labor government that they are softer on these things, and it appears the people smugglers and others are prepared to take a chance because of the reputation and exactly that softening that we've seen. And they can't get away from that. It's fact. That is what happens when we have had Labor governments in recent times. And here it is again.
Interesting piece in the Fin Review today. It looked at the booming growth of TikTok in Australia. So the social media app that none of us who would be watching me tonight, none of us are actually on this app, but it's in the news all the time. But it's booming in Australia compared to in the US, where Congress is considering banning the Chinese-owned platform. The Fin Review reports that TikTok reported a net profit after tax of $11.4 million last year. And it's certainly, they say that it is going to be advertising another 126 jobs. 126 jobs. I mean, Caleb, we could only... it would be unheard of for any media organisation here to be hiring another 126 people. TikTok thrives on misinformation, disinformation, mindless content, and they're booming.
Well, I mean, the best we could hope for is 126 trained monkeys at about $1 an hour. But the problem with all of this, of course, and you look at the US where they have threatened TikTok, basically that they have to divest their Chinese parent company, ByteDance, has to divest if they want to keep operating in the US. And we should be doing exactly the same thing here because we know that it's essentially Chinese spyware. It rots the brains of Western children, and I'm convinced that it is designed to do exactly that. Because if you look at the version that's offered to children in China, you know, it shows them science experiments and mathematics equations. It's time limited to 40 minutes a day, so you can't just keep scrolling. Of course, you get a Western kid, Australian, US, UK kid, to go on TikTok, and they're just looking at nonsense, and it goes on and on and on and on and on all day.
Doom scrolling. I was even reading an interview that one of the gold medal Olympians gave, and they said, "What do you do to relax?" And she says, "I lie in my bed and scroll through TikTok for 3 hours."
And this is the thing, because once you get going, it's so hard to stop. And China knows that, right? And you'd be stupid to think that China, being the expansionist regime that it is, the CCP, would not be using a product such as TikTok to try and destroy the brains of Western people. It's exactly how they operate, and we let them do it. We've got politicians using it, because of course they want to be where the kids are, but they've got to take a look at it and go, this is bad for our country, it has to go.
And they deliberately have extreme content and content that's going to, see division in Western democracies. Basil, I actually want to ask you about something else. Peter Dutton has just been in WA for 5 days. WA the Liberal Party lost many seats to Labor at the last election. How do you think he's going in terms of trying to claw back those seats ahead of the next election, which we assume will be in the first quarter of next year?
Yeah, I would say that with each visit to Western Australia, he endears himself more to the West Australian public. I think we've made this point previously. Peter Dutton is not trying to win a popularity contest. He is trying to win an election, and he's always going to do it in the Peter Dutton way. That is going to be with policy, direction, clarity, and a forceful personality that he will deliver what he says he is going to deliver. So I think on each visit, on each occasion that he comes here, he further enhances that reputation and further endears himself to the West Australian public. It is clear WA is going to be critical. The job is not done yet. He's going to need to come back a few more times yet. But he is working hard, and I think with each visit, that window opens. I can say this, and I don't say it with the blue hat that I wear in the state scene now, although I understand people might suggest that I do, but there is no doubt that the federal Labor government at the moment is right off the popularity that saw them elected at the last federal election. So the door is open for Dutton to be able to go through. The challenge is his now to be able to do that. But he's making inroads, definitely.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, Basil Zempilas, great to see you. And Caleb, we'll see you back here at 10 o'clock tonight.
Cheers.